Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third session of the developer track of the Collabdays Lisbon. With us now we have Giuliano De Luca. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And he's presenting us with the session to show how to configure Azure DevOps, the continuous integration and delivery for SharePoint framework. Giuliano, go ahead. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Joao, for your presentation. I am very glad to be here and presenting to these conferences. I shared now my desktop. I will present my slide deck with a live presentation of PowerPoint. It's very cool because you can go back and go through every slide if you want to review one. You can also tap some emoji for every slide that I change. And finally, you can provide your feedback about my session, and this helped me a lot to see if the content was good or not. Okay, let me start now to present
Giuliano,
live.
before you start, can you please minimize the black Teams window? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so here you can take a picture. You can scan the barcode if you want, and this will allow you to see also and follow the presentation on your smartphone. And as I said, you can tap emoji here if you want. And finally, yeah, you can provide your feedback about my session. Okay, so moving. I will wait just some seconds if someone else want to join the live. Yeah, exactly. This is what you can do. Okay, let me go ahead now. So I will talk about how you can configure the continuous integration and delivery of a SharePoint framework solution. And you have also this incredible and useful feature here. You can also change the transcript in Portuguese if it's better for you. So before to go ahead with my session, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsor to make this event possible. Without them, it's very difficult to organize event like that. Few words about myself. As Joao said, I am Giuliano De Luca. I am an independent technical architect. I am also a blogger and speaker to several conferences around Europe, more or less, before COVID. Then I started in May to work more actively on my YouTube channel. I have now more or less 35 videos. You can find a lot of videos and a lot of how-to video tutorial. It's not only focused on technical stuff, so then it's not only for developers, but it's useful for everybody because I talk more about adoption, how you can use specific tools and services in Microsoft 365. So I hope that you will give it a try with some video, and then if you like it, subscribe to my channel to support my channel, and in this way I can provide more videos. There is also my Twitter handle here. If you have questions or if you want to stay in touch with me, feel free. My blog is here also. There are technical articles there, more focused on developing stuff. And finally, my GitHub account, where you can find around 50 repositories there. Mostly are focused on SharePoint framework. You can find several examples. So then, going back on the discussion that we had before, after 3 months of fighting with the review process to publish my app in the Microsoft Teams store, I finally got it, and so my application it's available now in the Teams store. It's called MyLeobot. It's a bot, as you can imagine, and it helps you to surface the Office 365 tenant. You can create across this bot tasks in Planner. You can collect all your teams. You can change your profile picture. You can display your profile picture, and then you can work also with your files. What kind of files are shared with you in the Office 365 tenant, and so on. I was born in Rome, Italy, so I'm an Italian guy, and I moved since 5 years ago now in Germany. Okay, let's kick off the agenda. So I will show you how you can ship your SharePoint framework solution and how you can automate this process. Finally, I'll show you a demo, how normally you can release manually a SharePoint framework solution. Then we will go through the ALM API, Application Lifecycle Management API, provided by Microsoft, that helps you to build your release pipeline on Azure DevOps. And finally, we will see in action an automated release pipeline. Okay, let's start with the deploy. Sorry, with the deploy possibilities that we have. But before to start, I don't know if you are familiar with SharePoint Framework. It's out now since 3 years, I think. I just want to give you a short introduction if you are not familiar with this powerful framework. So basically, it's a model. I would not say anymore new because, as I said, now it's out since 3 years. It's lightweight. You can develop with SharePoint Framework and extend Office 365 with web part and extensions. It's backward compatible, so this means that you are able to display your web part also in the classic view of SharePoint and not only with the modern UI. It's totally client-side, run in the client side, so that means that you can use any JavaScript web framework that you want, and then you can easily communicate with the Microsoft Graph API or your line of business systems and cloud services. For example, an Azure function, you can consume easily an Azure function protected in Azure Active Directory, for example. Okay, moving forward now. So as I said, you can create web part, and this means that you can empower the experience of a SharePoint page, for example, and you can make available a web part to the entire tenant, or you can target specific SharePoint sites. Then we have the SharePoint Framework extensions. These are very cool. You can find one of mine that I created in my GitHub account, but also in the Microsoft, in the official Microsoft GitHub account, in the web part samples. There is a Google Analytics SharePoint extension. It is the first one that you see here, the application customizer. So basically, it allows you easily to configure your Google Analytics tracking number, and then you can use Google Analytics to track your SharePoint online site. Then with the extension, you can customize and extend the command set. So for example, selecting an item in a SharePoint online list, you can add a new item in the panel, and then you can bring your business logic. So you, for this specific item that you selected, you can do some stuff. And finally, we have the field customizer that allows you to customize a column. So for example, you can display a map as in this example, or you can do much more, but I don't know if this we will persist in the future, because there is now the ability to customize easily a view or a column across the JSON. Just a JSON snippet, you can change the look and feel of a view. So I don't know if makes really sense to have this kind of SharePoint extension. Okay, let's talk about now much more the Azure DevOps stuff. So a repository should not contain passwords, secrets, connection strings, or token. So you have to be careful that when you make a commit and you push your code on the server, you don't have this kind of secrets in there. Instead of doing this, you have to use the Azure Key Vault or the variables in the Azure DevOps release pipeline. So in this way, the secret is centralized in one place and it's not available to the people that has access to the repository. Let's see now the 3 phases to ship a SharePoint framework solution. So first you start to develop a solution and you use specific tools like Node.js, Yeoman Generator, and Gulp. Then you build the solution when you are ready to deploy this solution. And finally, we have this third phase, which is the deployment. So you have to deploy the app package of an SPFX solution by uploading it in the app catalog. And then you can use the ALM API, for example, to automate this last step. Okay, what I'll show you today, it's not an hello world web art, but it is a more real world scenario. So what I have here, it's a SharePoint Framework web part and a SharePoint Framework extension application customizer. This solution provides basically a toast notification when someone add an item in a SharePoint list called the events. This trigger a webhook. A webhook is sent across a Node.js web application that I have on Azure. And the Node.js web app send across socket.io in broadcast this information to the SharePoint Framework web part and to the SharePoint Framework extension. The web part, when got this notification, display a button with the number of how many items as added in the list, and the extension once collect this notification, display a toast notification on the right top corner, where we have a short description and then a link. Why I created this solution? I think this is very powerful because with this kind of solution, you don't need to refresh the page. You can keep it open at the SharePoint page, and then you get this notification without refreshing the page. So this is very, very cool. It's more working like a desktop application experience where you don't need to click F5 or refresh the page. I use Socket.io, as I said, which is a very powerful JavaScript library that allows you to establish a connection from a server to a client. In this case, the server is the Node.js web application. The client is the SharePoint Framework solution. But if you are more familiar with C#, so if you prefer to build your C# application, web API application, you can use it, and then you can use Signal R to make the connection from your web API developed in C# to the SharePoint Framework solution. It's up to you. So now let's see the possibility how you can deploy the solution and where you can store the asset of the SharePoint Framework solution. So when you deploy the solution, as I said, you need to store somewhere the assets of this solution, and you have several possibilities. You can use the public CDN called client-side assets, and this is available by default if you enable the CDN on SharePoint Online in the app catalog. So, and this is a very great benefit because when you build the solution, you don't need to take care of the assets. So you don't need to store the assets of this solution to any specific CDN. You have just to create the package, and the assets are stored directly in the package. So then once you upload this package in the app catalog, that's it. So your application it's available. This is a public CDN. So with the CDN, with the URL, sorry, you can have a look to the assets, or you can use the private CDN, always available in SharePoint. So you can create, for example, a document library. Then you can, with the PowerShell, with a PowerShell script, you can enable the CDN on this document library, and then only people that are in this document library can download these assets. So this is another use case, very helpful if you have some images, for example, that should be not visible to the entire organization. And so then this is a typical scenario. Another way is to store the assets in the Azure CDN. So if you have already an Azure subscription, you can, and if you have already a CDN, it makes sense to consider to use also this kind of CDN. But keep in mind that the SharePoint CDN, it's totally free. You don't need to pay money for that. You need just to run a PowerShell script that you can find in the official Microsoft documentation in order to enable the SharePoint CDN. Okay, so now starting from the version 1.4 of SPFX, we have a new configuration available. You can include, as I say, the assets in the package. All you need to do is just to have this true flag for the include client-side assets in the package solution JSON, and then the assets will be included in the SPPKJ file of the SPFX solution. What you need to do to ship your solution. So these are the steps that normally you have to perform. First of all, it's always good to clean up the file system from previous build that you made. Then you have to bundle you have to create the bundle of the SPFX solution. Then you have to run gulp bundle --ship if you want to release the SPFX solution in production. So the assets, the file assets, will be minified and optimized for performance reason. Then you have to create the package of this solution, the SPPKJ file, and you have to run the gulp package -solution -ship. Then you are ready to go to deploy this file, SPPKJ file, in the SharePoint app catalog. Okay, let's jump now on the first demo, and I'll open now my SharePoint environment. It's here. So here I have two repository on Azure DevOps. The first one is the SharePoint Framework extension, and this other one is the web part. I'll show you later the entire release pipeline and how the deploy is fully automated. Now going on let me stop now this presentation, going now on my environment, this one, and let me open a solution that I have here, this one, for example. So here I have this web part. So and here I enabled the include client-side assets because I want to include the assets of this SPFX solution in the app package. So then, as I said, the steps that you need to do to create the SPPKJ file are the gulp bundle and then gulp package solution. So finally, you will have in the SharePoint folder this file. You have just to take this file and then go in your app catalog. Let me open now. I created here this app catalog under apps. In apps for SharePoint, you will find this section where you can upload this package. This is the solution. So all you need to do is drag and drop here the SPPKJ file, then click on deploy, and this will be available for everybody because I enabled this the flag to make available this web part for the entire tenant. So every user in the organization is able to add this web part in any SharePoint page. And then I also created here another package for the TOS to get TOS notification across the SharePoint, the SPFX extension, the application customizer. But I'll show you now how it works. This solution, I think it's better than talk and enough. So this is a classic SharePoint page. I have this web part inside. And this display the content in the events lists. Okay, now I will create a new item here in this list. So take care of the color of the TOS notification and then also of the button that will show up, because later we will change some colors. In this way, you will have the feeling that when we will use the release pipeline to deploy the solution, you will have the feeling that something is really changed. Okay, now let me just refresh the page and let me create now here a new item in this list. I will type in Collabdays, Lisbon, then Lisbon again. So here I will add just a URL, which is the URL of my YouTube channel. Okay, so we are ready to save this item in the list. I added this item, so now switching back on this solution on this page in some seconds. So it's less than 1 minute normally. You will get notified that a new item it's available in the events list. So we will see a TOS notification showing up here, and then we will see also a button for the web part that tell to the user, here we go, that there is a new content. So here we have a TOS notification in blue, in background blue, and here there is the link that I added. And on the web part, I have this button that tells me that there is a new item that it's not available here in this web part, but there is a new one. So if I create another item in the list, this number will change into two new items. So if I click now on this button, the web part refresh and I have this new item. So this is, it's not like working with SharePoint list, but I think it's a very powerful way to work with a dashboard, for example, and collect data without refreshing the data, refreshing the page, sorry. Okay, let me jump now again on the presentation. I will resume the session and we will go forward. Okay, let's talk about now of Application Lifecycle Management API provided by Microsoft. And this is the point that where I want to focus on, because across this API, we are able to create a fully automated release pipeline. So we have several phases in our project. When you deal with SPFX solutions, we have a first phase of requirements and specifications. You collect these 2 points from the business. Then you start to develop the solution. Finally, you have to test the solution. Then you deploy the solution. And finally, there is the maintenance phase where you check and you fix the solution if there are bugs or if you have to bring improvements. So here we have a bullet list of most useful gulp command when you work with SPFX. So there is the first one, which helps you to debug the SPFX solution locally. So you can run a gulp serve, then gulp build, gulp test if you have some test on the solution implemented. And then there are the classic commands to create the bundle and to create the package of the solution. There is an extra command if you want to deploy in the Azure CDN, then in the Azure storage, the assets. And finally, we have the gulp trust dev cert that you have to run if you want to start to develop an SPFX solution locally on your machine, because this allows you to debug the solution locally. Okay, now what you can do with the ALM API. So this API target not only the SPFX solution, but more in general SharePoint add-ins. You can add SPFX solution in the app catalog, you can remove, you can enable, disable, and you can even upgrade or uninstall solution in the app catalog. You can also list all the SPFX solution. Imagine that you need to have a dashboard where you can have a look how many apps there are in the apps catalog. For example, this is a use case of this API. So this is a typical use case. It's an infographic where we have a process in order to upload an SPFX solution in the app catalog. Then you can deploy, retract, or remove this application in the app catalog. And finally, you can install this application to specific site collection or uninstall, for example, or you can make it available to the entire organization. And finally, you can upgrade this solution if you have new versions. So what kind of technologies are supported with this API? So how you can consume this API? So you can use the classic REST API. So this means that you can, for example, build your solution on SharePoint and then use this REST API to install, add, or remove application in the app catalog. So finally, you can even take advantage by using the CSOM library, so the client-side object model. There is the PMP CSOM library that allows you to do all these things by using the API. And finally, we have also the PMP PowerShell that allows you to just run a few commands to add and upgrade a solution in the app catalog. I have two release pipeline in Azure DevOps. I will show you a case by using the PMP PowerShell and another one with the Microsoft 365 CLI, the command line for Microsoft 365. So as I mentioned it before, there is a classic question that come up when you start to create from scratch an SPFX solution. And this is very relevant and important because this will target the entire tenant or specific site collection. So if you provide a response with yes to this question, this will add the true flag to the include site assets in the package, and this will make available the solution to the entire tenant. I'll show you later how it looks like this configuration, and here we go. So it's this one. So you can insert here true for the skip feature deployment, and this means that the solution will be available tenant-wide, so every user in your company will be able to add your web part, for example, in any SharePoint page. This is very relevant if you have a web part that is helpful for the entire company. And this will create also this step in the admin experience. When one of your admin will upload the solution, this question will come up. Make this solution available to all sites in the organization, and the admin has to check this checkbox and then deploy the solution. Let me check the time. Okay. So talking about the CDN, this is the way how you can enable the CDN on SharePoint. So this is the classic public CDN on SharePoint, and if you run these commands, connect SPO service and then the URL of your SharePoint admin center, you will enable then. So this is the get SPO tenant CDN origins, but all you need to do to enable is set SPO tenant CDN origins, and this will enable the client-side assets CDN on SharePoint. So then this is very helpful because when you create the SPPKJ file of your SPFX solution, the assets will be stored inside, and then you have just to upload the package in the app catalog. That's it. It will be served by CDN. So this is the classic architecture of the public CDN on Office 365, more specifically in SharePoint. So there are files of your SPFX solution like images, CSS, and JS that will be served across the CDN on SharePoint, and then when you run the SPFX solution, these assets will be loaded across the CDN. Okay, so we have important manifest and configuration files as JSON to take care. So in the write manifest, you have the CDN base path. If you want to take advantage of the public CDN in the app catalog of SharePoint, you can leave as is the CDN base path. And then you have to insert true for include client-side assets. If you want to use a private CDN on SharePoint, that means a specific document library on SharePoint where you add people to have the right permission to download these assets, you have to insert here the URL of the SharePoint site with the CDN URL as well. In the Azure CDN, you can as well upload your client-side assets. All you need to do is create a storage account, create a blob container, create a CDN profile, and then upload your assets there. So what you need to do in terms of configuration to deploy your assets in Azure. you have to provide several information in the deploy Azure storage.json file, like for example the account, and the access key. In the package solution, you have to set to false include client side assets, and then you are ready to go with the Azure CDN. So here we have an infographic of the benchmarks of around the CDN. I used this picture from a Microsoft employee, and so he basically checked the performance by running his web part on the browser with the dev tool of Chrome. And as you can see here, we have an example where the assets are stored in a normal document library on SharePoint Online. And then below we have the timing of SharePoint Framework CDN and the Azure CDN. So we have a very different performances. So it's very important to use the CDN for your SPFX solution. Talking about more in general of DevOps, using the words of Donovan Brown, DevOps is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. So with DevOps, you have best practices like agile planning, continuous integration, delivery, and you can easily monitor your application. So Visual Studio Team Services is changed in Azure DevOps. So we have a very nice UI now, and it's very easy to work with Azure DevOps. I have a very positive experience from my side. So you can even work with the YAML. So it's like a markdown in the end. So you can create tasks in your release pipeline by writing this kind of text in this file. Then you can upload this file, and magically you will have all tasks created in the pipeline. But you can also do it manually by clicking on the user interface if you prefer to work in this way. So in a release pipeline, I will show you that you can use also now it's called Microsoft 365 CLI command line interface. Here the URL, you can use this powerful command line, totally open source, community driven, and you can do a lot of stuff on Microsoft 365 especially with Teams and SharePoint. You can upload a SPFX solution, you can create channel, you can collect all teams in the tenant, you can do a lot of things. And then we have the pattern and practices PowerShell available to upload and install SPFX solution. Okay, enough talk. I think it's time to see something in action. So let me go now on my Azure DevOps environment. So as I said here in the repositories, I have these two solutions. I have the application customizer, SPFX extension, and then I have the web part here available. Going now in the pipelines, I will open this one, React. This is the web part. So, and this is every tasks that you have to create in order to create the bundle of this solution and the package. So I used for that the agent Ubuntu. In the other case, Mac. You can try several agents. I discovered that Ubuntu and Mac OS are faster than Windows, but you can give it a try. So as first task, we have here use Node 10 So you have to install Node.js first of all. Then you have to run npm install because you have to install every dependencies in your SPFX solution. Finally, you can run clean bundle, or you can even run immediately the create bundle. Don't forget in the arguments to provide the -- ship, because this will create an optimized bundle for your production environment. And then we have the package - solution with this flag again, ship. Finally, this will create a folder called drop, and we'll put in the folder the sppkj file. So for this release, I will use the SharePoint App Catalog CDN. So this is this step is simplified because I don't need to take care of the assets of this solution. And finally, I will publish this zip package in the drop folder. That's it. This is the pipeline to build the solution and to create the app package. In releases, I have a different pipeline. I have just one environment, but I guess you will have here dev, test, and production, for example, or only test and production. And here I have a very complex tasks in this pipeline. Just two. It's very easy. So I have here, I use the PnP PowerShell script to deploy the app package in the SharePoint App Catalog. So all I have here is this couple of rows to install the PnP commandlets PowerShell, and then I have this second task to deploy the app package in the app catalog. So what I have here is this variable password, and I have also the username as password. These are DevOps variables are contained in this section. So I have then to connect to the SharePoint App Catalog with the credential that I provided. I have to provide the URL of my app catalog, and then I have to run this command, add PnP app, the path of this sppkj file, and then publish overwrite. Because if you already have an existing version, you have to replace it in order to have a new version available. That's it. So in variables, I have defined here my variables. I have the catalog site URL. I have the password here to get access. You need to at least to provide the SharePoint admin credential to do it, or you need to use a user which is added as a site collection administrator of the app catalog, and finally the username. So that's it. This is the continuous integration and delivery for this solution. So we have more time. I will show you now a second release pipeline, but in the meantime, I want to run the release pipeline. If you remember, when I displayed before the demo, there was a black button and a blue task notification. What I want to do now, I want to change this color of these two things. So I will remove now the black color for the button, and I will have the theme used in the SharePoint site. The classic theme of the site where I have my demo is this one. So we will see the button with this color now. And then for the task notification, I want to change here. I don't want to have the background blue, but I want to have, for example, teal light. Okay, saving. What I have to do now, I have to commit. I have color change it. So I make the commit for this change, and then I will push this change on my Azure DevOps project repository. I'll do the same for the web part by using this tab now and no more the black. So let me now type in something, color changed, publish. So now that I publish the change, the release pipeline will trigger automatically because there is a trigger that I enabled. So let me open. In this way I can show you what I'm talking about. So as you can see, the release pipeline is started and I have the commit here, color changed, for the application customizer and for the web part. So now the release pipeline is running. If you want to automate this thing, you have just to open the pipeline. In edit, you will find triggers, and then you have to click on enable continuous integration. Every time that you push your change, this will trigger the release pipeline. So all I need to do now is wait that the release pipeline complete the deployment process, and then I have just to refresh the page to see the change that I made available on live. So when the release pipeline is completed, I will refresh the page just to be sure that I have the new version of the web part and the application customizer. So the disable cache is enabled here, just to be sure that we will see the right version deployed. So the one is completed. Now we'll start the other one. In releases, we can see that we'll start also this other release pipeline, and this is the one that I want to show you now, because in this release pipeline I implemented the Microsoft 365 command line interface. Editing this release pipeline, what we have for the pipeline, we have exactly the same thing. So this means that we have the commands to run to install the dependencies of the SPFX solution, the commands that we have seen before. Then I have to run the gulp bundle and then the gulp application to create the app package. The difference, it's only the release pipeline. So for that, as I said, I use the Microsoft 365 command line interface, and I have macOS as an agent specified here. I have to install Node.js because the Microsoft 365 CLI, it's node based, so we have to use, if you want to use it in Azure DevOps in the release pipeline, you have to install the Node.js 10 version. Then you can run this command to install the Office 365 command line interface, this one. And then we have 3 additional tasks because we have to establish the connection to the SharePoint app catalog. You have to provide the username, the password, and then we have this command to upload the sppkj file in the app catalog, and finally you have to run deploy to deploy the app to your tenant. Okay, let's see now if the release pipeline is completed. Yes, for the application customizer, this is still running. It's queued. We have not so much time, but in the meantime, I can show you that at least for the application customizer, something is changed because it's already deployed. Okay, let's try to see now in the demo. Let me refresh now the page. So unfortunately, the button will be still black because the release pipeline is not completed. We can check again. It's queued, so we have to wait. But we can see the application customizer, the task notification changing the color. Let me add now a new item in the list to trigger the webhook. Collabdays. Italy, for example, Italy. Again, my YouTube channel. Save. We have a new item here. Let me switch here now because we should see the application customizer with the new color. So webhooks for SharePoint was faster before. Now it takes some seconds more, but you can, as you can see here, we have a new color here for this task notification. We have this green, and it was blue before because the release pipeline is completed and a new version of the application is available. As I said, we have still black here because the pipeline is not completed. Now, last thing to mention, if you have parameters, configurable parameters, for example, if you have to consume an Azure function, so this will change according with the environment. So I guess that if you build an API that your SPFX solution has to consume, you have to use a specific URL, and this probably change for test and production because are under different Azure subscriptions. So then you can implement also this extra step to differentiate this parameter for every environment. So closing now the session, let me resume the session. So you can find here some useful resources. You can take a picture if you want. There are several links how to get started with SharePoint and Microsoft Graph API as well, or if you want to build application in Microsoft Teams. And don't forget, of course, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find a lot of useful videos there. There is also my official Facebook page. And yeah, last thing that I would like to show you is this application that I built. So you can go on the Teams App Store and then you can type in MyLeo bot. This is the bot that I developed and provides you the ability to collect all your tasks, all your shared files. You can change your profile picture, you can collect teams, you can create a across this bot, tasks for your planner in a specific team. So I am very glad if you can provide some feedback in order to improve this bot. Okay, so I don't want to steal other time to other people. So then I will stay in the chat. So if you have question, feel free, or if you have one, yeah, now I'm available. Thank you again for having me.